Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by Tim Picciott of the Liberty Advisor, and let's talk about negative interest rates once again, because Donald Trump has made some comments on Twitter saying, and I quote, "Just finished a very good and cordial meeting at the White House with Jay Powell of the Federal Reserve. Everything was discussed, including interest rates, negative interest, low inflation, easing, dollar strength, and its effects on manufacturing trade with China, EU, and others, etc." And also, I should note that, as this article from Zero Hedge says, Trump says discussed negative rates in unscheduled Monday meeting with Chair Powell. And I'd like to go into the update, which I find the most interesting part, which says, following the report that Trump and Powell discussed negative rates, among other things, the dollar has slumped to session lows, with the Bloomberg Dollar Index dipping below 1,200. And you could see the chart on the screen. I also want to bring up that just a couple days ago, the New York Fed leader Williams said that interest rates are in a good place. Now, we've been talking about interest rates many years here at WHAM, and it's interesting because, people call this crazy for years. It's expected. It's people don't want to believe the worst, but nonetheless, it's basic economics at the end of the day. And we talked as much as 5 or 6 years ago about how they're going to prop up interest rates as much as they can. They won't be able to get it up much, and then they're going to have to drop it out. And remember, between I think 2008 and 2012, they had to drop out the interest rates by about 5.5% or somewhere around there. And now going into possibly negative rates, which Trump has proclaimed as a good idea multiple times. I don't know where the economy is going to go from there. I mean, when we're entering, well, we're already in a papered over recession, but when we're entering into possibly the greatest collapse the world has ever seen on a global scale, negative interest rates beginning at the point when it's already collapsing is really bad news for the economy. And I want to point out as well that the Fed Chair Powell, as this Yahoo Finance article says, Fed Chair Powell on economic expansion. No reason why it can't last. No reason why it can't last. Hey, well, let's go to Tim Picciott and let's talk about this, Tim. What do you think about the most recent comments by Trump and what this means overall for the vast manipulation of the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar?
Hey, thanks, Josh. It's good to be on again. And when it comes to negative interest rates, you have to really understand who it's good for and who it's good for, because there's obviously an opposite and equal reaction to everything that goes on. So while it might be good for a lot of these zombie corporations, a lot of these zombie banks, who it's not good for are savers. So with I guess luckily the vast majority of Americans are not savers, and so when they, I've seen different arguments, such that if you inflation is good because Americans have most of their net worth in their house and their house values go up. But I mean, the problem with that, though, is that right now it discourages, actual real savings. And I would actually argue that the rates are already negative when you take a look at what the real inflation rate probably is. I mean, even if it's something lowballed like 5%, if that was the actual stated interest rate, we would have negative interest rates already, or we would already be in a recession rather, because of the relationship between the GDP and interest rates and how they calculate a lot of these numbers. But while this is good for those corporations, the main reason it's good for the corporations is because they're using that money to then buy back their own stock. What we've seen lately is a lot of these companies are actually spending more money on buybacks than even their revenue was the previous year. And this is, company after company after company. And now not only are they're able to finance this because if they can go out and get I think I saw Apple the other day had a 30-year zero coupon bond, either issued in, I forgot if it was in like the German Bund or if it was in denominated in euros. But anyways, with that euro bond, what they're doing with that is they're then buying back their own stock. And so if you take a look at a chart of Apple stock, and actually a lot of the Fortune 500 company stock, it shows the shares outstanding is going down. So what that means is you can actually have the earnings of a company stay flat or even decrease a little bit, but have the earnings per share go up. And so really at the end of the day, it's sort of an accounting trick, and it makes things seem a lot better than they really are. Take it back to 2015. Donald Trump said Janet Yellen is doing political things to help out Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and now he's mad that he's not getting the same benefit of the doubt of having those political things being able to benefit him as well.
It's just so crazy because, I mean, we could tie back almost all of the issues that people are begging government to get involved in, everything that AOC is talking about, everything that Bernie's talking about, instead of like growing government and stealing more people's money. You can all tie back to what the Federal Reserve is doing. People don't realize how important understanding the Federal Reserve is to everyday issues, political issues, the wages, the poverty, the homelessness. We've talked about it before, Tim. And I also want to note this RT article that says, pump it up. U.S. Fed adds $104 billion in liquidity to markets in just one day. And that's from November 15th. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's almost laughable if it isn't so sad, because so many people have to, at the end of the day, pay for this. They're printing vast amounts of currency. All fiat currencies eventually revert to zero. They always have, they always will, going back to 1024 AD in China, as I've gone into many times before. And when they are printing all this currency, legal tender laws, social contract, usury, it all ends up attacking the individual's wallet via the hand of inflation. Essentially, all the problems that, again, people are blaming on not high enough wages and all that kind of stuff and capitalism is actually going back to the Federal Reserve printing currency, and then people have to pay off the interest on the debt. It's a hidden tax. It's terrible, and it pushes people into vast amounts of debt. I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again. If they shove you down a bottomless pit of debt, you are forced to ask for a ladder up from the government and the banking system, pushing you into perfect servitude to them. People need to break free. People need to stop falling for this slavery racket. What do you think, Tim, about Jerome Powell saying things like there's no reason why this can't, the great economy can't continue, that it can't continue being amazing and you know, continuously growing? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think it's first to distinguish that the economy and the stock market are two different things.
Of
And really
course.
right now, they're sort of using those terms. I'm not saying you are, we are, but
Yeah.
the Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve and the economists and obviously all the MAGA fans out there are using those terms interchangeably when they're not interchangeable terms. And this is something that I was harping on Barack Obama doing. And so it really just sort of disheartens me seeing all of the so-called Tea Party people who've now sort of missed the boat on all this debt as it's going up, and the deficit's rising, and the trade deficits are rising. But John Tyson, I did a video the other day. We'll get this over to Josh very soon, where it was the title of it is going to be, or the working title of this is going to be, "No More Recessions Ever." And so, if you are able to game the stock market, if you're able to game the economic data, then it's possible to never have a recession again. Because if you just have negative interest rates and you keep printing more money, and then you're giving money to the banks, and then or the big corporations, and then they're able to buy up their stock. I mean, literally right now in Japan, they just take their digits on keyboards, print it up, and then buy the stock market. Same thing with the Swiss National Bank. They literally just take up, put money, create money out of thin air, and then they buy up companies like Apple. And so it's very hard to predict in this type of communist type system, which it is. It's a communist type system when you're having, little, central planners at the 12 regional banks, planning everything, when, going back to, the financial crisis, they have not been right on any of their estimates in terms of where they think rates are going. And so, yeah, I mean, could it keep going on forever? If you judge the economy as in the stock market, it might keep going on forever, because we're at this, end games right now where they need to keep, really literally papering things over, or digitalizing, via just printing money out of thin air and through electronic means. And so, it could, in that respect, it could go on forever, but it's not making the average person any better off. I also want to touch on your point about, minimum wage, and about, the wages not being high enough. In 1964, the coins were actually there was actually real silver in dimes, real silver in quarters, I believe, as well. And so what the minimum wage in 1964 was $1.25. Now, which expressed another way, could be 5 quarters. Well, I think silver is right around like $17 an ounce right now. It's like $16.98 or something like that. And so expressed another way is that basically the minimum wage, if you were to get those 5 quarters, and those quarters still were mainly made out of silver, the minimum wage today would be over $20. It's the money that they've messed with, not the minimum wage. And so minimum wage is attacking the symptom. It's a concept that you guys have been talking about, and we've been talking about for a long time, something that Ron Paul, helped, basically make me
Right.
aware of this, a long time ago. But yeah, it could go on forever, but it's only going on in the BS manufactured way. And if you guys want to text the number 71441 and then type in Liberty Advisor, no spaces, I'll send you a copy of my book, How It's Rigged, where I detail out exactly how they rigged this. Super cliff note version of this. But anyways, hopefully that answers your question, Josh.
Yeah, well, I think it needs to be made clear to all of you watching, folks, that you are dealing with monetary terrorists who want nothing more than to completely enslave you, utilizing money and destroying your livelihood in order to push you into dependence. And I say you should not negotiate with terrorists. What you should do is act as a free individual, be responsible, understand money, and try to grow your wealth, preserve your purchasing power outside of the US dollar if possible. And if you're going to stay within the reins of the US dollar, then be responsible at least and try to understand how to avoid this massive collapse, because it's going to happen. It has to happen. It's inevitable, and there's no putting a date on it, obviously, but it's going to happen one way or another. So people watching, all of you, you need to stop looking for government and banks. I know a lot of you aren't, but a lot of you are. Stop looking to governments and banks to save you. The banks are bankrupt. We've been in a papered over recession for a long time. How long until the absolute collapse? Well, there's an everything bubble worldwide, a derivatives bubble over, in multi-quadrillion dollar range, which is just absurd. And we're watching all these banks start to topple over right now. I think Deutsche Bank is probably one of the biggest ones to cause the domino effect overall. But I mean, people need to get outside of that system as much as possible. And Tim, I want to go to you finally, finishing this off. Obviously, you run the Liberty Advisor, and people can be your client if they wish, so they can check the link below the video or in the description for that. But what are some solutions that you can bring to people, in your opinion? I mean, I think that there's more solutions than there are problems. What do you think?
Yeah, one of the tricky situations that we're in right now, and thanks, Josh, is that we're in a situation where there you can easily make the case of the stock market going up 50% as just as much as you can make the case of it going down 50%. Now, absent all this, chicanery and shenanigans that are going on, I think the odds of it going down 50 would be a lot higher than it going up 50. However, in this, zero negative interest rate world where you can just print money and give it to banks, and banks then give it to companies to then borrow money at next to nothing to buy back their own stock, and central banks who are printing up money out of thin air and buying up stocks, it really distorts the equation quite a bit. And so what we have developed in the way that we're running money right now is we have a strategy that works a little bit like homeowners insurance. And so, you pay a little premium every year. It's not technically insurance, but it's just, I don't want to use a ton of financial jargon to make everyone's heads explode. And so you pay a little bit of insurance premium a year, although it's not really insurance. And if the market goes down, then basically, this would be like, if your house burns down, this helps build your house back. And if your house doesn't burn down, then you get, what would hopefully be the appreciation minus the insurance costs. And so we have a strategy that, has unlimited upside. You can get out of it anytime you want. You're not locked in. And if the market goes up a lot, then your account's going to go up a lot minus the small price of the premium. And if the market crashes, then, basically you're only going to be down probably like in the mid single digits, notwithstanding anything that we have in crypto or gold. I'm just talking about like traditional stock market type investments. Because let's face it, most people, the only money they have is in their IRAs, 401ks. They're only limited to, a very small amount of investments within inside of a 401k. But, if you, we're interested in potentially rolling that over, we can do, analysis, see how much risk you have inside of your portfolio on a scale of 0 to 100. A lot of people have way more risk than they think. Even relatively safe portfotfolios, still could go down 15, 20, 30, 40% in a, in another 2008 type environment. So we have a way where, whether it's heads or tails, I believe we win both situations. It just, I'll be honest, it won't work if the market just remains flat forever, but I don't think that's going to be the situation.
No.
I think we're either going to see massive money printing and then the stock market's going to go up to the moon, because if everything is priced in dollars and the dollar loses its value, there is a case for the stock market going through the roof, which sounds counterintuitive to everybody. And then on the flip side is if the market absolutely crashes, then this helps you as well. And then the other thing you have to do is you have to compare it to what you're doing now. I mean, if you're 55, 65 years old, you probably have, just guessing here, probably 50, 60% of your money in bonds right now. That's basically dead weight. So what I'm saying is I've got a way where we take, a small amount of your portfolio, like 3, 4, 5%, do this, strategy that we're talking about, and which then helps protect against the other 95%. And to me, that's a much better way to, hedge your risk, either way, because what you want to conserve is not the dollars in your account if you've got a $400,000 account, you don't want to save those $400,000. You want to save the purchasing power, what that can buy you. And right now, if you're keeping everything in cash, you want to play it safe. What you're doing is you're going broke safely. And that's something I've been talking about for a long time. And I appreciate the opportunity, but the best time to act is before something like this does happen. And so right now, everyone's complacent. You can buy this, quote unquote insurance, which isn't really insurance, a lot cheaper now because things are really calm. Whereas, if you wait till, after the Dow drops 1,000 points, then it's going to be a lot more expensive. And no, it's just a way where I think it's, absolutely the best strategy going forward.
Right. And again, people should know, Tim has been involved in cryptocurrencies and stuff like that most advisors don't get too involved in. And Tim has gotten in a lot of trouble over the years for being consistent and doing the right thing. And I think that's enough of a reason for everyone watching to check him out and look into him. You got the link below for that. And also,
no regulatory. I've never been in any regulatory trouble. I've only been in trouble with compliance officers telling me what I can and can't say, aka I wasn't allowed to tell people to sell Bitcoin in 2018, January 2018, into the special types of trusts, which would have saved them a massive amount of money in taxes. And we also do have programs where you can actually hold on to the private keys and have money in a retirement account. And I don't know any other advisor that can do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I want everyone to make sure to check that link below. And also, again, like I always say, food, water, shelter, self-defense. You're not gathering things with the toughest guy on the block. Be responsible, folks. It really does come down to individual responsibility, understanding these things, and stop depending on others. And gold and silver is wealth insurance, in my opinion. And of course, cryptocurrencies are properly decentralized, fundamentally useful, blockchain infrastructure technology, et cetera, et cetera. None of this is investment advice. This is simply my opinion, but I think it's important that people look into these things because, it can only last so long within this crazy manipulated fiat system. I think it's about time that we start analyzing and taking a second look at this system that has failed every single time throughout history, and take action for yourself and for your family and preserve your wealth. Anyway, I appreciate you joining us today, Tim. We'll continue to go into this news. It's just going to continuously come out. More stories are coming out a day. It's just piling up. It's crazy. So again, stop being a slave. Don't be a slave. And by the way, if you watched this video this far along, make sure to comment taxation is theft. Then I'll know that you've watched this far and that you are not a slave. It also helps our algorithm. So all the same, comment, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate you watching today. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Tim Picciott signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, Wham! Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We cannot do it without you guys. Every donation is extremely, extremely appreciated as we're getting incredibly shadow banned. We've lost 80% of our audience since January of 2019 and counting. They are ripping us apart here on YouTube. And the only thing we could do in the meantime, as we prepare for the next big step, is to ask for help from the viewers that support our free information that we try to post on a daily basis. You can also find us on Subscribestar, where just $1 a month, that's all it takes, $1 a month is all it takes to truly make a huge difference. If everyone gave $1 a month, it would change everything for independent media, and we could win this information war, and we can defeat the mainstream medias eventually. And of course, on Subscribestar, we post subscriber-only content that you'll only see on Subscribestar. So make sure to pledge there, become a patron. That makes a huge difference, guys. And also, don't forget to check out our Bitcoin address below in the comments and description, as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on the alternatives. We will likely be deleted by YouTube in the next 2 years. It's already happening on a vast scale. So make sure to find us on float.app. That's flote.app. At Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham, W-A-M. Float.app is replacing every social media, and it's just incredible the opportunities it provides for not just creators, but for the average person who wants to get away from these nannies telling them what they can or cannot see. They plan to replace Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon. You could subscribe to us on Float and pledge with cryptocurrency. cryptocurrency. It's really innovative. We are also on BitChute at World Alternative Media, as well as so many others, Minds, PocketNet. You can find us at World Alternative Media on Instagram. There's many options. And finally, don't forget to join us at Anarchapulco 2020, the famous event, the best Liberty event known to mankind, other than perhaps Anarcho Vegas 2020. There are two major events coming up that we are extremely excited about, and you can use promo code WHAM, that's WAM, and save 10% on your tickets to these legendary conferences. There's so many amazing people speaking there. You won't want to miss it. So make sure to support in any way you can, even if it's just sharing our videos, pressing like, pressing to be notified. Anything helps, folks. You are the change you wish to see. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.